Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/commanders. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. Obviously, have a story up now about Jayden Daniels' situation, not going to play against the New York Giants. And what does this mean for the next 3 games after that? They don't know yet. But that's up on ESPN.com. And for you gold members, I'll be doing the private Zoom on Thursday night this week, 7:30 Eastern time. Join me there, and we'll have a nice little chat about all that's going on for this lovely 3-10 team. Woohoo. Anyways, folks, so that's it. And today I'm joined by Kevin Sheehan, who, of course, is a host on Team 980. You can find him on social media all over, Kevin Sheehan. So I'm going to get to him in a minute. Just a couple things before I get to Kevin. And by the way, he's got a really good podcast. Listen to that as well. I always enjoy my conversations with Kevin. I always feel like it's a smart person to talk to, which is why I like having him on when I can. So anyway, before I get there, just a couple things that Dan Quinn talked about today regarding Jayden Daniels. And it kind of took a turn from on Monday that it was nothing new or anything like that, no re-aggravation, just sore, to today saying that he re-aggravated the injury and that, yes, he's sore, not shut down for the season, just ruled out for Sunday. He is practicing this week. He was limited today. When we were out there, we saw him throwing the ball. We saw him doing some of the drills that he normally does, just not the first guy doing it because that's Marcus Mariota. The other good thing for Daniels that there's no structural damage. If there was, he wouldn't be out there doing anything at this point, and he would have been shut down for sure. I also truly believe that if they were not 10-3, if they're not 3-10, if they're 7-6 and you're fighting for the division or whatever the record is, much better, that I do think he would be playing this week. But I think given where the season's at, where everything is at, that's why he's not going to play this week, and we'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks. Now, Quinn said they haven't reached that point in the discussions yet to shut him down for the year, see where he's at on Monday or whatever, and then reevaluate. If they get beyond, I think 3 games is where you start to get well, is it worth it to bring him back at this point? Because then you're facing Philly twice. You got Dallas in between. What kind of momentum can you build with that? And et cetera. So Kevin and I get into a lot of that. But again, the good thing for Daniels is that there's no structural damage. And I do know that they would like to see him again on the field. The question is where's his health with it? And even Quinn talked about he got hurt because he gets pushed to the ground and he falls on the wrong shoulder, right? The wrong elbow. And it's, as he said, it's kind of Murphy's Law that whatever's going to go wrong this year is going to go wrong. That's another example of it. And, chasing down interception, which is you want your guy to be involved that way. But man, it's just when it rains, it pours with this season. And I think that was another example of it, that it was, it's like if you have, you think you're putting your worst fielder out in right field in Little League, guess where the ball is going to go 3 times that inning. As someone who coached Little League way back when, definitely know that for sure. So anyway, just that's kind of what happened with that. But again, I know they would like to see him play. And as Quinn said, because Ben Standing asked him too, the score was only 17-0. Why take him out at that point? Now, if you're watching the game, did anybody feel like they still had a chance? I didn't. That's different than players or coaches feeling like they don't have a chance. And I think it was a combination of, and Quinn said didn't involve the Seattle game. His decision making didn't involve the Seattle game. It's hard to think that if I'm coaching him, that's in the back of my head. Hey, this happened in that game. It was out of hand already, blah, blah, blah. So, you take him here, but there's also 17-0 later in the third. And then you have a defense that blitzes the hell out of them and is doing a good job with that blitz. So I think all those facts, he didn't say that part, but I'm looking at that because when you say, okay, for him, it's 7-0, he said it didn't feel that way, which I would agree with. But anyways, that's the reason, whatever you think of that. To me, it didn't feel like it was a close game. In other situations, the Green Bay game, they were down 10 or whatever, 14 or whatever it was, and they cut it to 7 on the drive in which he hurt his knee. Anyway, so a little bit different. And they were, but this game, not a lot going on. And I know like Minnesota was controlling the ball, but that defense up 17-0 against an offense that's not having its rhythm yet would be a tough task. But anyways, so that's why he said that. But again, today they said re-aggravated, not re-injured, re-aggravated. And now we wait and see what goes on. And to be honest, like he's the number one reason for people to watch over the next 4 games because there's not a whole lot else unless, there are young guys that you want to see, and Ben Sinnott's going to get a chance. But it really was about Jayden Daniels. Anyways, that's enough for me. So let's go to my conversation with the Team 980's Kevin Sheehan. Hey, Commanders fans, want to make every drive a winning one? With the AAA Commanders MVP membership, you'll get trusted AAA roadside assistance, score Commanders gear with 15% off at the online pro shop, ticket giveaways, and exclusive team experiences. Whether it's game day or a weekend getaway, AAA keeps Commanders fans covered at home or on the road. Upgrade your current membership or join the team today at AAA.com/Commanders and drive like an MVP every day. All right, Kevin. So the other day you had me on the show and we're talking about Jayden and what's going to happen, et cetera. Well, now today we know that he's not going to play against the Giants. First of all, any surprise by that decision? And then what would you do for the next 3 games with him?
I'm surprised. I'm disappointed. I also thought it was odd today, the whole thing. We went from could have returned in the game to he's just sore to now he's out for the Giant game. My first reaction, because I was on radio when Quinn was with you guys and we played it live, I'm like, he's done. I don't think he's playing the rest of this year. And I think that now. I mean, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I have a feeling he's done for the year. It's one thing when you're contemplating, coming back for Denver with 6 games to go or the Minnesota game with 5 games to go. Now we're talking about coming back for 3 games left. And, it's 2 games against the Eagles. I mean, he's already played against Minnesota's defense, Green Bay's defense, Seattle's defense. It's like, they've gotten all these things. I don't know at this point, John, and I was just doing my podcast. I think we're going to start seeing some guys show up on IR, the Tunsil's, the Terrys, and they're going to play out the string, rather than playing to win.
This usually is the case when guys get a little bit nicked up. And it's like, I think even there was one year, I think it was Terry was saying the other, like that, I think one year it's like the last game of the year, you're healthy, but what's the point at that point, unless you're playing for something meaningful?
Yeah, the point would have been just to get Jayden didn't even play hardly in 2025.
Right.
So the point would have been 5 games left.
Agreed.
Let's play him and let's make sure that we've got as many of the players that we anticipated being out there at the beginning of the year out there because they're all now back.
Right.
And we can, play out 4 or 5 games with our starting offense. And now what we're going to end up having is really nothing, from this year.
And that's the thing that with Jayden, because like obviously people are going to pick apart his season, which is what you're going to do. But to me, it's really hard to get an accurate assessment of where he's at.
Impossible.
This season doesn't help me determine the word sophomore slump and all that. I just think there's so many factors to this for him that it's really difficult to assess what kind of season he had.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page. I think there's, for people that didn't love him to begin with and then were shocked by last year, but they love, they love Drake May or they love Caleb Williams or whatever. They're like, oh, injuries or nothing. Right. I mean, that doesn't even matter. Like, by the way, he just had his whole, crew back on Sunday in Minnesota. Injuries are a reality in the NFL. They are the biggest determinant of a season, wins and losses, other than really the starting quarterback position. And they didn't have a season in which they had their best players out there enough. So I think it'll be an impossible season to truly evaluate almost everything. But I do think there are some things you can evaluate, like Cliff Kingsbury, like did the coaches get more out of less because they had less, on the field? Did they get more out of less? Not on defense. And you could argue at times not on offense, not Sunday. They didn't have a pressure plan. They didn't have, there were a number, the play calling, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal. Are you kidding me? Rodriguez at 8 yards a carry. How about he gets another carry in that
Right.
situation?
And I think, like, if to me, if they fully trusted where Jayden was at, he would have gotten a carry in that situation in the
He would have been
past.
involved in the run game. Yeah.
Correct. And but I also think, Kevin, too, when you look at it, it's not, they were rarely out there together with the full skill crew, right?
Right.
And losing Eckler, but like with the receivers and Jayden, but also missing games in between. I was talking to Mariota about this early in the year when the Seattle game and Kurt Warner did his little breakdown. And, there are definitely things that Jayden wasn't hitting the same way. But the question I have is why? And like, what's the impact of missing 3 games, coming back and facing a really good defense on your game, not having your guy?
With Robbie Chosen and Chris Moore as your top receivers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I say now there are things that I would look at too. And you bring up Kingsbury, like, how can you advance this offense with him? What are the next steps? Like, it certainly looked like the other day Minnesota had a lot of the answers to that test for Washington's offense, dropping they knew where guys would be on the blitz pressures, et cetera. But with Jayden, how do you advance him more under center? Is that, I know that's a big topic in this town,
Yeah.
but I think there's some stuff you have to do, but do you have him run less? What do you do with him going forward? But I'm also going to say, like, I still think the kid can be a really good quarterback in this league. He's got all the tools. He works his ass off. I think it's to me, it's durability.
Yeah, I mean, I have zero concerns about him. If we had seen a season with all of the players and the team, was just moderately, healthy, and then we could evaluate. To your point, and I agree with
Right.
it. I think it's really hard to evaluate almost anything. And Sunday was the worst game for him to go out on because, I mean, they had no pressure plan. They had the exact same cadence. Grenard's beating the snap
Oh,
and disrupting play after play.
yes.
You're not running the ball when you are running the ball, and you're giving up 12-minute drives on defense. So you're only having a few cracks at it anyway
Right.
on offense, and that's, I think, more than anything, I'm like upset that it was like, okay, Giants second worst rush defense in the league. They haven't played well defensively recently against anybody. That he's familiar with the Giants.
Right.
Brian Flores confuses a lot of coordinators and a lot of quarterbacks.
Yes.
But and they're not going to play him. And I think it feels to me, and I don't know this, it feels like they are scared. Like the Seattle game really spooked them, and they should have had him out of the game, or they should have had him handing the ball off at the end.
Well,
and they're afraid of the next time they mess up. And now, I hope they're not responding to fans, or any media people that think he shouldn't play. Because I don't know how you felt. I think we've talked about it, though. I wanted him to play. Now, we get down to 2 or 3 games left. That's a different conversation.
I'm with you on that. My thought was always 5 games, you can learn a lot. You can start because like you figure that first game, you got to shake some rust off, let them get into a rhythm, get a couple games in a rhythm with your guys out there. I think that's all a good thing. But I agree with the reason. I do think, and I know, Ben Standig asked Quinn today about, like, was that part of the decision making that Seattle game? And of course they're going to say no.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, I don't know, like, whether it's subconscious or consciously they're doing that. It's got to be in your mind somewhere, like, hey,
Definitely.
last game we did this, like, as he said, like, it's 17-0 at that point, which is not insurmountable in the third quarter in this league, but it felt like it was 30-0. And I think it's like, okay, last time it was this, 7-0, we're not doing anything. See if Marcus can do it, whatever. We're 3-9, don't risk it. But I can't believe it wouldn't be a factor at all.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be into our off-season. We've already started the off-season conversations. Unfortunately, we're used to it. But yeah, like now without him playing, if I'm right, and I think you agree with me, if he's actually going to be shelved for the rest of the season out of fear, then fear for Marcus Mariota's health. Play Josh Johnson. because they should try to sign Marcus Mariota and bring him back.
Oh,
He's
for
an
sure.
excellent backup quarterback. Fear for Terry and Tunsil and some of your best players who, if it's not worth it to play him the rest of the year, don't play them. The reason to play them was because he was coming back. And now, it's you don't tank in the NFL because you don't have, walk-ons that you can play, but it gives you the best chance of potentially losing out and grabbing number 1 overall and then turning that into a haul potentially, and turning it around much faster in one off season or 2 off seasons. So I'm disappointed. I wanted to see him play. I was excited about Sunday against Minnesota. I was really excited about Sunday against the Giants. Yeah. Very concerned about them defensively more than anything else.
Oh,
I do think, John, he's been a little bit like, it's not unusual when a guy comes back after several weeks to have a little rust, to maybe have a little bit of a confidence issue, considering the last few times he's been out there. The Seattle game, you and I both know, and I think a lot of people in town know, it was an S show with their receivers that night. Yeah. And too bad. I think he's done for the year.
It is too bad because that was the number one reason to watch this team down the stretch. Now it's going, if he's not playing, if he doesn't play, and of course they said they're not ruling him out yet for the season, and I know he obviously wants to play, and I think to your point, there are definitely guys like, wait a minute, if he's not going to play, what about my health? Because I'm a free agent this year, or I'm going to be, I want an extension, whatever. Like, there are other reasons for others to do that. And I'm a big proponent. I am a big proponent of finishing strong, at least looking better. But if you're going to take him out, you start sitting guys. I don't think the record at that point, nothing matters. Because guys understand. I was talking to a player today about hey, we know that it's been bad luck with the injuries. We know that they feel like that's the reason more so than the last year of Rivera, where they felt like it was a whole mess of issues.
That's
for
right.
example. So it's a little bit different, but it is too bad because he was the number one reason. Listen, man, I'm going to be leaving my family on Christmas Day to go watch this. Are you kidding me? Give me something to watch,
Yeah, right.
I mean, this poor country is going to have to watch this team a number of times in primetime games when it's they just last year. Yeah, last year. But it's just the other thing too, and this is a big thing too, the scrambling that he's been doing, more scrambling. And I think this is where some of the rust of his game maybe showed up. And maybe the other day, there were a couple times where he ran, and you're kind of well, could you have dumped it here to Ertz? Could you have thrown to Terry or McNichols on this one? And I wonder, is that a matter of you bring up the confidence with you're not playing as much. So maybe you're not trusting what you're seeing quite as much. You're well, I can go get it, so I'm not going to throw it. You know what I mean? I think that's where maybe some of that stuff showed up.
Well, also, the scramble percentage stuff that everybody's been talking about. I actually went back. The Seattle game really skews it significantly. He had 9 scrambles in that game. It was 30% of the dropbacks. But most people now know, I think, that literally the receivers in the game weren't running the correct routes.
Right.
And that's why you saw him tuck and run immediately.
Right.
If you go through the rest of the games, it's basically last year's scramble percentage. Right. So the Seattle game really skewed that. But that aside, I feel in watching him that there's this urge to kind of get back to where he was last year and a little tightness around that, because he hasn't been out there enough. Right. And he hasn't, you got to go back to the Chicago game, the Chargers game, where he played good football, both of those games, except for the turnovers, the fumble into the Chicago game. Yeah.
The fumble was a fluke thing, though, because that was just a bobble thing. that's, you know what I mean? But yeah, and even on the interception, there was a wrong route run by someone else that would have taken the safety away. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But with the scrambles, though, too, and again, the Seattle game was an example. But I think when you look at that, and the one thing I'm going to go back at some point and look at all his scrambles to see, what was the reasoning here and how much of it was caused by, receivers, maybe you're not trusting it, maybe they're on the wrong route or not open and you've got to run, right? And so was it definitely more in different situations? But I do think some of that is going to be caused by you just haven't played enough this year and you're not into a rhythm.
Right. But when I said to you, I don't have any concerns, I don't have any concerns because we've seen him do all that. We saw
Right,
everything happen the right way without flaw for
right,
an entire season. And by the way, 3 postseason games,
right.
20 games last year. And I think like it's interesting that you're talking about going back and looking at all of them. You're going to find a mix of
Correct.
receivers issues. Nobody's open. Pass pro issues in a couple of the
Right,
games.
right,
Green Bay manhandled them
right, for
up
sure.
front. Seattle manhandled them up front.
Yep.
Minnesota on Sunday, they had major pressure issues,
Blitz as
on
well.
Sunday. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Jayden, so I'm always looking to try to take it off of him, but I don't think it's that hard to do it. I
Right,
mean,
right.
Minnesota is one of the most difficult defenses to face, especially coming back after being out for a while. And then you saw the pressure, the cadence alone, set him up for, major disruption from one player, Grenard, in that game. Seattle, Green Bay. I mean, some really good defensive teams. And look, they faced Denver with Marcus and Cliff's going quick game. Everything's quick game.
Right, right.
Where was that Sunday?
Right. And I think there was some of that desired, but Minnesota knew where it certainly looked like
Sure.
a handful of times. But that's why I say, I wonder for Cliff to evolve this offense, what does he do? Let's assume he's back, right?
Yeah.
Assuming he's back, how do you evolve this offense to maybe counter what you've been seeing against some of these better defenses? Now, again, like it's different when you're throwing to Chris Moore and Robbie Chosen
Yeah.
versus McLaurin and Debo and somebody else, right? That they
Yeah.
would add. But I think that's one thing that I'm curious to see, like how do you evolve and how do you use Jayden maybe not differently, but evolve it because you can't, when Robert was here, they didn't feel they could evolve the offense. With this guy, you can because he's just
Oh, I think he'd fit into
by a
any.
lot.
I think he'd fit into any style of
Right,
offense,
right, right,
and I think he would evolve and grow in any kind of offense. He didn't grow in this offense this year because he barely played.
right.
And when he did play, no one else was playing, or most of the others weren't playing. But I do think, and I'm thinking more and more about this now than I have been recently, the Minnesota game was an alarming game, defensively and even offensively. And I like Cliff. I think Cliff's really smart. I think Cliff has a lot of respect from people around the league.
Mhm.
But man, they have not dealt with, complex pressure teams
Right.
very well.
Correct. That's that exactly. And that was true last year too. And that's why I say the evolving part is dealing with that.
Yeah.
And whether it's building in different things for the quarterback or whatever, or maybe getting out of some of the whatever, if it's predictability, whatever it is, like that's why I say it. But it does go back to those kind of defenses that they've had some problems with.
Yeah.
So, for sure. For you on the air, what's it been like with fans? Because, obviously there's a lot of angst about what's going on here. And you would have thought last year would have bought them some time, but this year has taken that away. And, there's a lot of PTSD with this fan base, understandably.
Yeah. I mean, sports talk radio is known for, hysteria,
Yes.
and recency bias, hysteria. And there's no doubt the post-traumatic Snyder syndrome is a big part of it. But I enjoy it. And, you're a part of this. It's like this bubble of Skins fans. We've lived this together, and you've been around for a long time too, where we are like, we get to wallow in the misery together. It's a community of miserable, people right now. And then every once in a while, like barely every once in a while, like last year, there's like this, community of, oh my God, we have a chance. We're good. So I love that part of it. But I think that what I don't want to say surprised, but the fire everybody crowd,
Yeah.
I don't get. I
Yeah.
just don't get. I think it's different today than it would have been 10 years ago when I did this, with Zorn, because I was saying fire Vinny, fire Zorn, the whole thing. Everybody was,
Right.
but After a 14 win season and nearly the Super Bowl, they don't get more rope than one season, which has so much context around it, injuries. No, I'm good with them through next year, but
Commanders fans, your fandom just got an upgrade. Introducing the AAA Commanders MVP membership, where real fans get real perks and the same trusted AAA membership benefits. The new AAA Commanders membership provides the chance to win game tickets, access to VIP events and experiences, 15% off at the Commanders Online Pro Shop, while providing peace of mind for Commanders fans on the road. Already a AAA member? Don't sit on the sideline. Upgrade your membership or join today at AAA.com/Commanders.
one of the things I was interested in seeing was with Jayden and with starters on offense, would they finish the season strong?
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're not going to get a chance to see that.
No, and I always say by strong, I mean be in every game. Like,
be in every game.
Not Sunday, because like if they lose 30-28, you say like we already know the defense stinks. We know the defense is, but the offense looks good, and you can carry that forward. Like, oh, okay, no more worries here, et cetera. So I think like that, and whatever the record is with that, it is. But because I think the players still believe in this, and it's different this year than it has been in other really bad years with the coaches, right? So like I can feel that.
Well, and I would say that the big difference between this kind of season and all of the others that we've all lived through, where you're in December and the season's over, is that we have a quarterback.
Correct.
And so it was always dismal and no hope, even though we, conjure up some hope, before the draft or before free agency, right. But and come up with every quarterback idea imaginable. But at least that part, the most important part, they have, you know. But interestingly, the way this has ended, there will be people that think, I'm not sure we have that.
Correct.
I'm sure we have that.
I do too, because the reason why I felt he was going to be good last year was because of everything you heard about the way he works. Like, to me, you do not become good without that. And is he a perfect quarterback out there? No. I don't know anybody who is, but does he have some things to work on? Yes. But I also know he works on that stuff and he watches film a ton. Like, guys like that, I will take who have his ability. And the only question you're going to have now, and he knows this, people, durability.
Yeah.
But short of that, like, I'm not concerned about how good he's going to be. It's just like, how will he be out there? And, and how much do you have? Like, I'm not a believer too in changing his style. Now, he can be smarter with some things. Like the Seattle game to me is a perfect example. When he got hurt, it's an RPO. The handoff is there, but what I would say too for the play callers, don't give them the option in that situation.
Straight
handoff.
They had 2 dropbacks on that drive.
Right, I know.
31.
Yeah, and
forget about the RPO.
Right,
you can't call the RPO because of the possibility he'll pull it, and try to throw it with pressure. And by the way, that pressure was immediate too.
Correct.
But they dropped him back twice on that final drive. I'm totally with you. I don't want him to change, other than being smarter in the open field, not treating 1st and 10 in the first quarter like it's 4th and 3 in overtime. Right. Those are 2. He's got to learn that there is a difference. They have to, I hate the designed, counter, the quarterback counters and the quarterback powers. I think those are Cam Newton and Josh Allen plays, not Jayden Daniels plays. They're built for running back style plays. But zone read, I'd never take out of it. I think that's a huge weapon to have with him. Obviously, his off-schedule scrambling and creating is a part of every good quarterback's game now. I mean, the stand in the pocket and deliver from the pocket over and over again without extending, there are very few that do that, these days. It's just not what 2025 quarterbacking is about.
No, it's not. And that's like, to your point, like I agree with in the quarterback powers, like Alex Smith could run some of that. He's bigger. Cam Newton, if you ever walked around him, like, he's going to truck a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And so I'm good with that. And it's such a weapon to have a guy that can run. The reason why they drafted him was because of dynamic ability. So you're going to maintain that. It's just about the times where, again, like you scramble, keep your eyes upfield. That's it. And see what, because again, at the 3rd and 2, if your eyes are up, you may have Terry here or Jeremy
Debo.
McNichols over here.
Oh, that 3rd and 2. I thought that that 3rd and 2. I went over with my guy who does film. It's 3rd and 2. He thought he could get it. I thought you were talking about the 3rd and 6 where he scrambled for 5, where he could have taken the deep shot to Terry, or he could have thrown it to Debo as he approached the line of scrimmage and the defender came up. Yeah. And by the way, I'd throw into the other, not just the Seattle game, but Cliff was running him in his very first game against Tampa Bay last year, down 37-13 with 2 minutes to go. He's running read options at the goal line, and he's taking hit after hit. That's their responsibility.
Right, for sure.
They cannot put him in those positions anymore. And I think the Seattle game really has kind of, overall spooked him a little bit here. And that's why we're where we are. If he doesn't get hurt in that Seattle game, he comes back in the Minnesota game after the pick. After getting blocked, in my opinion.
I think you're right.
And he's starting Sunday against the Giants.
I think you're right. And it's funny because I did ask Cliff the other day or last week, I think it was, what their responsibility is as a play caller to help him. And it's really, they kind of put it back on him, but I agree with you. But I think that was played out in the red zone the other day where they didn't have him run.
100%.
I definitely think that was part of it. But that's why I say there are things that you're going to, because the one thing I feel pretty good about Jayden is I think he can win from the pocket. When he came in the league, not just here, but other coaches from other teams would tell you that he is a passer who can run.
Exactly.
And there are some coaches, damn good coaches here, who salivated over wanting to get him.
I know.
And, some who may or may not have coached here. So, there are guys that you really respect who felt that way about him because of that ability that he could win from the pocket.
Yeah.
And, so that's why I say you can evolve the offense with him and use the legs as a superpower, but not rely, get off maybe a little bit of the reliance on that. But then, and I say that, and then it goes back to get your guys healthy. Get him a Carnell Tate or somebody in the draft or whatever it is, another explosive guy, tight end, whomever, right? Let's see what Sinnott does over the next 4 games. Now that's the thing. We've gone from wanting to watch Jayden to say okay, what does Ben Sinnott do? Which is fine. It's fine, but it's not quite as sexy.
I know.
So,
yeah. I'm just sitting here in all of us have all day, and it's just not. And now I'm in the mode of, okay, this season, there's not a lot really to play for.
No.
I would have loved to have seen him go out there with Terry and with Noah Brown and with Debo and the 3 backs who have all played pretty well. And, no Ertz moving forward. You know what? This is the first time I've thought about this. I wonder if no Ertz, Marcus's and Jaden's safety blanket. Yeah. I wonder if that played into this. I doubt it.
I don't know. That's a good question. I doubt it because, again, they haven't ruled them out for the 3 games. I'm with you. I don't know that they will bring them back. And I know there's some other people who have kind of speculated that to me as well. Don't know.
Yeah.
But that, I wondered the same thing is you lose that security blanket. And while I think Sinnott maybe he can help, he's very different. And you don't know what level of trust you can have with him yet because he's a different kind of guy in receiver. So we'll see.
I mean, John, it's just the Seattle game. It's not, he obviously got hurt. It's the way in which he got hurt.
Right.
In there where they took just a ton of justifiable criticism, not just locally, nationally. Remember, they skewered Quinn. What is he doing in the game? And if he's in the game, he should be handing the ball off on every play. And I think that has stuck with him. And I think it was a part of the reason he didn't go back in on Sunday. Maybe it's part of the reason he didn't play against Denver. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's a big part of where we are right now. I don't like that. If you're going to coach scared, concerned about that, I guess the big difference would be these games don't matter to the standings and next September does.
Right. Yeah. And we'll see. So
yeah.
We'll see. Kevin, listen, man, I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks, John.
Tell people, I know people should know where you can get you, but give them a little update.
Yeah. Team 980 and the KevinSheehanShow.com, and keep watching and listening to John and reading John too.
There you go. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, John. We'll talk to you soon.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Kevin for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Friday Friday with the podcast, Saturday morning with the video with my 5 thoughts. Talk to Ben Sinnott. Where is he more confident? How is he approaching this? Now he's going to get more chance. Talk to Jordan McGee. How has Bobby Wagner helped him? Like, there's some really good things from the vets that they're helping some of these young guys that can help in the future. So tune in for that. If you may not care about the game, but these guys still factor in the future. So I think there are some decent conversations that you may want to listen to. So anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.